The day my daughter told me she wanted to put me in a home, something inside me broke. Not just because of the words, but because of how easily she said them, like she'd been waiting for the right moment to get rid of me. "Mom," she said, her tone soft but laced with calculation, "you'll be more comfortable there. It's for the best. Tell me something, how do you respond when your own child looks you in the eye and decides you're disposable? Would you fight back, or would you just accept it and fade away? Because I didn't fade. I fought back. And when I did, I made sure she'd never forget the woman she tried to erase. You see, she thought she had everything figured out. She thought the house I lived in, the one I spent 35 years building a life inside, was hers for the taking. But what she didn't know was that I'd already made plans. I sold that house before she could touch a single brick of it. And the look on her face when she found out, well, that moment still gives me strength when I think about how close I came to losing everything, even my dignity. It all started about 3 years ago, after my husband passed away. His name was Robert, and he was the kind of man you build a life around. We'd been married for almost 40 years. The house we lived in wasn't just a piece of property. It was our story. We bought it together when our daughter, Emily, was just 5. I remember painting her room pink, then yellow when she got older and said she was too mature for pink. Every corner of that house held a memory. After Robert died, Emily was supportive at first. She came over every weekend, helped me sort through his clothes, made sure I ate properly. I thought it was love, daughterly concern, but as months passed, I started noticing a shift. She began bringing up topics like downsizing and retirement homes. At first, I brushed it off. I told her I was fine where I was. I had friends in the neighborhood, my garden, my memories, but the more I resisted, the more insistent she became. One Sunday afternoon, she brought her husband Greg with her. They sat me down in the living room, like I was, a child being scolded. Emily started with her usual sweet tone. "Mom, you know we only want what's best for you," she said. "You're alone in this big house, and we've found a really nice retirement community not far from here." I smiled politely and told her I appreciated the thought, but I wasn't interested. Greg, who'd barely spoken a word to me in years, decided to chime in. "It's just not safe for you anymore," he said, glancing around. "These old houses, stairs, wiring, security. It's a lot. You could fall, you know." That's when I realized this wasn't about concern. This was a sales pitch, a setup. Emily's tone hardened when I didn't agree. "Mom, this isn't optional," she said, folding her arms. "You can't keep living here like this." I laughed, thinking she was joking, but she wasn't. From that day on, the visits became less about company and more about persuasion. She'd drop hints about selling the house or liquidating assets. Every time I told her no, but what I didn't know was that she and Greg were already planning something behind my back. A few months later, I got a call from a realtor, someone I'd never met. He introduced himself as the agent handling the listing for my property. My property. I nearly dropped the phone. When I demanded an explanation, he said, "Your daughter told me she has power of attorney and that you're preparing to sell." My blood went cold. Power of attorney? I never signed anything like that. I called Emily immediately, my voice shaking. "What the hell is going on?" I asked. She sighed, like I was overreacting. "Mom, calm down. It's just a preliminary thing. Greg and I thought we'd get the process started in case you change your mind." "You had no right," I snapped. "That house is mine." Her reply still echoes in my head. "Not for long if you keep this up." That's when I realized My own daughter was trying to push me out of my home, maybe even before I was ready to go. The next week, I went to my lawyer. He confirmed what I suspected: she had forged my signature on a few preliminary forms. Luckily, they weren't binding yet, but if I hadn't caught it in time, she could have gone much further. My lawyer suggested I revoke any informal authorizations and tighten my estate documents. That's exactly what I did. I changed my will, moved my bank accounts, and started planning for the day she might try again. But I didn't stop there. I wanted to make sure that if Emily ever came after that house, she'd find nothing left to take. Months passed. Emily grew distant, but I didn't mind. I spent my time reconnecting with old friends, working in the garden, and quietly putting my plan together. I listed the house privately, with a realtor I trusted completely, someone who agreed to keep everything confidential. The housing market was booming, and within weeks I had multiple offers. I accepted one from a lovely couple who reminded me of myself and Robert when we were young. The sale went through faster than I could have imagined. I took the proceeds, bought a smaller cottage 2 towns over, and transferred the rest of the funds into an account Emily would never touch. I moved out quietly one morning, leaving only a short note on the kitchen counter. Asterisk, Emily, the house is sold. Don't look for me. Take care of yourself. Asterisk, I know it sounds harsh, but after what she did, I couldn't trust her anymore. For the first time in years, I felt free. My new place was small but cozy, filled with peace instead of tension. I thought that was the end of it, but oh, I was wrong. A week later, my phone started ringing non-stop. It was Emily. When I finally answered, she was screaming. "You sold the house without telling me," she shrieked. "It was mine, Mom. You promised I'd inherit it." I kept my voice calm. "You mean the house you tried to sell behind my back? That house?" She stuttered, clearly not expecting me to fight back. "You're being ridiculous," she said. "Greg and I had plans to kick me out." I interrupted. "Don't pretend it was anything else." There was a long silence before she said something that made my heart ache. "You're going to regret this, Mom." Then she hung up. So that's the situation I was in: a daughter who thought she could outsmart her own mother, and me, standing there with a lifetime of memories and the choice to fight back or give in. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and think. If your own child betrayed you like that, would you forgive them, or would you do exactly what I did? Let me know what you'd do in the comments below. A few weeks after the sale, I got a letter in the mail. It was from Emily's lawyer, claiming I had sold joint property without her consent and demanding I reverse the sale. I laughed out loud. Joint property? The deed had always been in my name alone. She had nothing legal to stand on. My lawyer responded, pointing out that Emily's actions could be considered attempted fraud given her earlier forgery. After that, everything went quiet. For months, I didn't hear from her at all. The silence was painful. She was my only child, after all. I raised her with love, gave her everything, even when we had little. I used to dream of growing old with her, visiting on weekends, bringing my grandkids. Instead, she saw me as a burden to be cleared out of the way. About 6 months later, I got a call from a mutual friend. Apparently, Emily and Greg's marriage had started falling apart. The money problems that had been simmering between them finally boiled over. I don't take joy in other people's pain, but I won't lie, part of me felt vindicated. I had suspected all along that money was the root of her motives. She'd married Greg, a man who always seemed to chase easy money, and when their finances got tight, I was just another asset to be reallocated. When they realized I'd outsmarted them, their golden plan crumbled. One afternoon, maybe a year after the sale, there was a knock on my door. It was Emily. I hadn't seen her in months, and the sight of her broke my heart. She looked tired, worn, like life had humbled her. "Mom," she said softly, "can we talk?" We sat down at my small kitchen table, the air thick with unspoken regret. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I was stupid. Greg pushed me into things, and I went along with it. I just thought we'd be set for life if we sold the house. I didn't mean to hurt you." I wanted to believe her. Part of me still does, but part of me knows that greed doesn't just vanish, it hides. I told her I forgave her, but I also told her I wasn't moving back into her life on her terms. She needed to rebuild trust, not just say sorry. Since then, our relationship has been complicated. We talk occasionally, mostly on birthdays or holidays. She's divorced now, living in a small apartment with her 2 kids. I sometimes see flashes of the little girl. She once was the one who used to help me bake cookies in the kitchen and fall asleep on my lap during thunderstorms. I miss that version of her, but I've also learned that love doesn't mean letting someone hurt you twice. Looking back, selling that house wasn't just revenge. It was freedom. I let go of a past that had turned toxic. I proved to myself that I could stand up, even when the person trying to knock me down was someone I once cradled in my arms. If I had listened to her, I'd be sitting in some retirement home, staring out a window, wondering what happened to my life. Instead, I'm sitting in my own home, surrounded by peace, and telling this story on my own terms. So tell me, was I wrong for what I did? Should I have given her another chance before making such a drastic move? Or did she deserve to lose the house she tried to steal from me? I know not everyone will agree, but I don't regret it. Sometimes you have to choose self-respect over family ties. If you ask me, a house can be replaced, but self-worth can't. If you were on my side through all this, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories like mine, and let me know in the comments what you think about the choice I made. Would you have done the same, or would you have handled your daughter differently? Either way, thank you for listening to my story. I'll see you all in the next one.